We've arrived at my favorite part of the battlefield. Oh geez, almost just wiped out in the mud. The Hougoumont. This was a prime defensive position for Wellington during the battle. It is slightly farther south from his line, but this was a key point in the battle. The French came from this direction. It was originally just like a diversion to keep Wellington's men here and to throw more defenses in this area. The bulk of Napoleon's attack was farther down on the opposite side of the battlefield, but he wanted to make Wellington think that this was where the main part of the fighting was going to be, where he was going to focus his attack. It turned out it was just a diversion. Wellington never fell for it, but there was still massive fighting through this whole area I'm in right now. At one point, the French actually did get to go inside the chateau. They actually went through the main gate. About 100 of them went in. 99 of them were killed. The only survivor was the drummer boy, who they spared because he was too young. But also here was the 71st Highlanders, who were about over in this area, where they just repulsed toward the end of the battle massive attacks by the French. A French cavalry charge, 2 infantry assaults, and an artillery barrage. They survived all of those, and were still standing to fight. But I'm definitely gonna have to get through this river over there. The main road to the Hougoumont is flooded, as if you can't see it. So next option, go by the barbed wire. No, without getting. Oh, this will hurt. Alright, I did it. Hop the fence. Just gotta be quick about this, because A, I think I'm trespassing. 2, or B, whatever. That could have hurt the family jewels. But oh jeez, it is worth it. And for the sake of history. There's the wall of the Hougoumont. Right there. I eventually just had to cross the water. So it was about ankle deep. So my socks and shoes are virtually soaking wet now. But look. The famous Hougoumont Chateau. This whole area was just nothing but fierce fighting. There have been hand-to-hand combat in this entire area. Yes, there's a horse. I mean, this is remarkable that I am right here next to this. A piece of history that I've only read about and have tried to picture in my mind. Oh wow. I mean, this is probably the most boring video I've made for the non-history majors. Or people who are not interested in history, but for those who are, fully understand what this is. There's the famous wall that the British fought behind and fired. Oh my gosh. There's a famous painting. There's a famous painting of this place, actually in this area. the the painter would be standing somewhere near these trees looking this way. And what it is the French are coming up through this area and the British are firing back towards us. But there's a famous painting of the French trying to take the Hougoumont. Wow, I mean, this is just absolutely amazing. I mean, it just boggles my mind that I'm here. This whole area, there's hand-to-hand fighting, cavalry, artillery behind this wall. This is the wall the French got into. And even at one point, the Hougoumont was actually set on fire by the French. The French actually put artillery fire on it and actually set it on fire for part of the battle. But the fighting was all around me for about 9 hours. And actually it turned out to be like a battle inside the battle. Officers who were fighting here had no clue what was going on the other parts of the battle. They didn't know if they were winning or losing the battle. I mean, it was just like a private owned just fight right in here for 9 hours. And plus with this, it either made or break the battle if the French took this. If the French took this, it would have easily have turned the tide into Napoleon's favor. Wow. I am smack dab in the middle of this battle. The French would have been within, I mean, I'm standing where French soldiers passed and tried to climb that wall. Well, I better get out of the unwanted area here. I don't know if I'm allowed here, but I'm just amazed that I got to come up this close to something like this and see it and touch it. I'm still looking at the Hougoumont, and usually with older buildings, if you look at them from the time period, if they're original, you'll see bullet markings. And if you look, you got one here, you got one here, you got one here, another one. I mean, you could just tell where a bullet hit these rocks during the battle, which would tell me that the French were coming this direction since the bullets up hitting this side of the building. But this is the original, this was here for the battle. This portion, at least. Because you could tell where some of these little gaps are, where you know, bullets hit, fragments of shell hit, but this was here. This is a real part of the building. It's another interesting fact for you history fans. Here's the gate that about 100 French entered. There's once again another famous painting of this gate of the French, and I'm trying to come in here. I'm trying to see if there's anything interesting in there. But they came from this direction. They just flooded into this gate. That's not, of course, the wood's not of the real gate, but this was the entrance that they fought for to try to get in. I mean, that's so there's two famous paintings, one of just the gate and then of this entire side of the building, but That's amazing. I'm still on the battlefield, still more on the French side of the battlefield now. So there's that lion, monument to the lion, well, to the battle, just that's the lion head. Now looking at it, I can tell from looking how Wellington had his troops, the crest of the hill is right where my finger is. Napoleon could not see past that crest of the hill. That's where the bulk of Wellington's forces were behind that crest. And Napoleon didn't know, you know, what formations, how many men he had. He couldn't fully tell because Wellington hid most of his forces on the other side of that crest of the hill. I mean, it's so difficult to find the crest when you're on the British side, on the Allied side that is, but now looking at it, I mean, it's plainly visible right in front of me, and the Hougoumont is right there. You can see a little bit the roofs of the building, but yeah, it's plainly visible, that crest of the hill. And the French charging had to go, you know, up one slope, down the other. And they came from that direction, zoom out, towards this way. I mean, it's right now heading back to the Allied lines, approaching the Hougoumont Chateau, and you know, I definitely feel like a French soldier marching over there. Because by this time I'll be under heavy artillery fire. Hold on, there we go. Had to wipe my camera off. Under artillery fire, you're probably starting to see it through the smoke. Definitely start hearing the bagpipes of the 71st as you approach. I'm back. I had to stop, get some lunch, and do a little bit of more extra reading, some homework on the area. I'm back over where that Mercer's artillery was. His monument's right there. And the lion. I'm doing some homework and everything. There was actually a cavalry charge came straight at me, towards me. And somewhere in this general area, it's a little wide, I know, is where there was a famous painting, which, you know, if you don't know much of the battle, you really don't know the painting, but over there is where a famous painting was done in this vicinity, where the cavalry smashed into Wellington's British line. So, but anyway, they came straight through here towards me, and right on the other side of the lion, towards there. The bulk of Napoleon's attack came in this area. And like I said earlier, there was another cavalry attack farther down. We're going to try to get there. Right now I'm heading to the Belle Alliance, which is Napoleon's headquarters. And after the battle, Bouchard and Wellington met there and had their famous handshake. So that's where I'm headed now. But anyways, this ground here was a famous, it was the cavalry charge. And farther down the road was that Imperial Guard charge. The last hope for Napoleon. This is a message to my dad. This is a little tribute, Dad, for you to probably remind you of years past. A dad and his son exploring the battlefield on bikes, just like we used to do when we still go to Gettysburg. We still do that, but I figured you'd get a little kick out of that.